How's it going, guys? I got a quick tip for you. Now, I just got done installing these XTR brakes on my Santa Cruz Highball, and I ran into a bit of trouble trying to get the brake caliper bolt into this rear threaded insert right here. Now, the problem is that the threads are a bit gunked up in here, and so typically you would just run a thread chaser through here, or even potentially a tap if they're really messed up, but I can't really do that because there's not a lot of space between the seat stay and the threaded insert right here. So ultimately I had to find another solution. Now what I ended up doing was I made a sort of homemade thread chaser, which I'll show you how to make right now, which enabled me to clean this out and get the threads to work really nicely. To sort of show you what I'm talking about, this front one here is a little bit gunked up. I haven't cleaned it yet. I'm going to do it right now. It threads in pretty easily, but then when you get about halfway, it's kind of hard to turn, and I can't really go beyond that. Right now, I could force it in there with a wrench, but you don't really want to do that, right? You want it to get in there pretty smoothly. So most likely there's some gunked up, probably old Loctite, some overspray from when they painted the frame. And so we're going to go ahead and clean this out. I'm going to show you how to make a makeshift thread chaser. All we're going to need is an old caliper mounting bolt like this guy here. This is an M6 by 1 thread pitch bolt. I believe it's about 20 millimeters long, 18 to 20 millimeters long. We're just going to take one of these old guys. We're going to use a Dremel or a hacksaw if we don't have a Dremel, and we're going to very quickly turn this into a makeshift thread chaser. So let's head over to the workbench and I'll show you how to do that. Alright, so here's all that we're going to need. We're going to need a vise. I have this little benchtop one here which works really well. We're going to need our M6 by 1 caliper bolt, a Dremel with a cutoff disc. A hacksaw would work, but it's definitely going to be a little bit slower and more tedious, so if you have one of these, they'll definitely work much, much faster. And then obviously some safety goggles, just since we're going to be grinding away metal. We're going to put on our safety goggles. We're going to mount the bolt into our vise, just like so. And then we'll take our Dremel, and all we have to do is cut a nice groove like so into the bolt. Now you see here, we don't have to go all that deep. I just went a little bit beneath the threads. And then we would just do one more on the opposite side here, okay, opposite the first one we made, until it looks something like this guy here. As you can see, this one I made earlier, we have one thread, or one file right here, and then the other one on the other side. Now with these grooves, it'll sort of clear out the debris as we're chasing the threads, and it'll make it much, much easier for us to thread in the bolts. So let's go ahead and finish this guy up, and we'll take him over to the bike, and we'll see how well we did. Alright, so now we're just going to take a little bit of oil. I'm using just some 3-in-1 oil. This will keep the chaser moving freely. And we're just going to thread this guy into our frame here. Now, the secret here, the key, is to only go a little bit at a time. So this first little bit is nice and smooth, so we can go a little bit at a time. Once we get down to where it clogs up, we want to just go a little bit in, and then a little bit out. So in a few turns, and then out a few turns. This makes sure that we're not essentially binding whatever's in there further. So we just want to work it back and forth slowly. Take our time. If we meet any resistance, we back out. Every once in a while, turn it back a few turns. And eventually we're going to work it all the way down to the bottom. You could easily use a hex key. I'm just using the ratchet here because it's a little bit faster, but just take your time. No need to rush. All right, we're all the way in now. Back it out just a few more times. Go all the way back in. And that feels nice and smooth to me. So we're going to remove this all the way now. And as you can see here, we have all this gunk that's coming off of our thread chaser, right? All that metallic stuff, probably some metal shavings in there, probably some Loctite, just gunk that we don't want in our threads, right? If you see, we can sort of clean it out. This isn't supposed to be in there. So that is all clean now. So the next thing we need to do is clean out the hole. So we're going to take some alcohol and just squirt it out the backside. There we go. Take a rag and clean out any gunk from either side. Do a little more alcohol. And then just to be safe, we'll do some compressed air and blow it out this way. And now let's try out with our original bolt. And as you can see here, this threads all the way down, real nice and smooth, finger tight, or just, with finger pressure, I can go essentially all the way down. So that is just perfect. So these threads are nice and clean now. We can install our brake caliper, and we didn't have to buy any special tools, and we didn't have to use a tap. And that's kind of the big thing, because if we use a tap on something like this, a tap is actually going to cut new threads, and we don't want to cut new threads because it'll actually make this looser. We want this to be a nice tight fit. So by just chasing out the threads, cleaning the threads, we were able to keep the original threads, clean them up a little bit, no damage to the frame. We're good to go. So I hope this tip was helpful. Hopefully it helped you get out of a bind. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.